Hey folks, this is Faisal. I got Brian next to me, who was my private pilot instructor and now my friend. He was free, so he's tagging along this adventure to Romeo Yankee Yankee Airport, which is just north of the big Atlanta airport. I'm going to drop the plane off for its caps repack there. Stay tuned for some great lessons in aviation and weather and some flight museums as well.
Oakland Troy traffic, Cirrus 454 Sierra Romeo, departing runway 28, westbound, straight out departure, Oakland Troy.
Oakland Troy traffic, light flight 13.5 to the west, now 2,600, we're southbound, this is the 28 departure corridor, Oakland Troy. Oakland Troy traffic, light flight 13.5 to the west, now 2,600, we're southbound, this is the 28 departure corridor.
I don't think that's him.
Oakland Troy.
I think the guy talking is a helicopter.
They're a life flight, yeah. They're gonna turn southbound though. But they are 2.5 to the west. 2,600.
700 plus. I guess that makes sense.
So the first important lesson here is that the pilot announcing their intentions on the radio around untowered fields might not be the same person on your ADS-B and tracker. We're inside the 30 nautical mile transponder plus ADS-B out veil of the Detroit Bravo, so that kind of helps, but there's a small chance their transponder might not be working correctly. So it's important to really pay attention with your eyes and ears around these types of airports.
Power set. Airspeed is alive. Engine instruments in the green. Pressure is looking good. Temperature is looking good. Fuel flow is nominal. Rotation. Best climb speed is 91 knots at 50% flaps.
Another important little tidbit here is to really know your aircraft's performance in different flap configurations. So your best VY climb speed will be different if your flaps are retracted or if they're extended.
7 plus 2, 900 flaps coming up.
Oakland Troy traffic, Cirrus 454 Sierra Romeo has departed to the west, final call, Oakland Troy.
Okay. Go ahead and climb up to 2,500 for now, actually. And we're going to maintain our runway heading. Okay, climb power set, flaps are up, mixture, engine parameters. Gonna switch our fuel pump off here. And we are 2,000 for 2,500, 1.5 for 5 gallons. Okay, VSI's, we're doing 120 knots, I mean for VS. And we're gonna wait to stabilize here before we go ahead and call up.
It's captured.
Pardon?
No, altitude's captured.
Yeah, yep. 2,500s, go ahead and speed up just a little bit. Get up to 140 knots here. Okay, I'm going to talk to Detroit approach. They're going to go ahead and give us our craft. We're going to be cleared to Romeo Yankee Yankee. Probably via radar vectors as filed. They're gonna give us an altitude and then probably expect 6,000. And then our frequency, we already know that. And there goes our code. See how far away we are from Oakland Troy, 5 miles.
Detroit approach, Cirrus 454 Sierra Romeo is 5 miles west of Oakland Troy, 2,500, like to pick up IFR.
Center 454 Sierra Romeo, Detroit approach, block 5756.
5756, 454 Sierra Romeo.
And 40 Romeo, I'm showing 2 IFRs filed for you. Are you going to Romeo Yankee Yankee or Tango Echo Whiskey?
Going to Romeo Yankee Yankee 40 Romeo.
So this one's a little confusing because earlier in the day I went to Tango Echo Whiskey, but that was just flight following, so I'm not sure how they have an IFR flight plan for that.
Oh, the other one should have been flight following. I don't think I...
40 Romeo, radar contact 5 miles west of the Oakland Troy Airport. Maintain VFR and climb to 4,000. And for traffic, expect your clearance at 4,000.
Part of that, maintain VFR, climb 4,000, then we'll expect our clearance later, 40 Romeo.
VFR climb 4,000. Mixture.
IS.
When going on long cross countries, the controllers don't know every small airport and where it is, so it's a really good idea to have the heading to the destination airport written down somewhere. The controller may ask you for it as they vector you around their airspace, such as the big Detroit Bravo airspace. It doesn't necessarily need to be accurate down to the degree, but it should be accurate enough for them to be able to plan how to send you off in the right direction as they hand you off to the next controller.
About
4540 Romeo, clear to the Romeo Yankee Yankee Airport via radar vectors for now. Continue on your present heading and maintain 4,000. Just let me know when you can what the encore setting is.
Roger that, so maintain 4,000 and we're cleared via radar vectors, maintaining heading for now, and heading's actually about 189er 40 Romeo.
40 Romeo, roger for now. You can fly heading of 230, vectors around metro arrival and departure traffic.
Roger that, 230 40 Romeo.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's more like a 200 heading, but I didn't want to guess.
You can just have to maintain 3,000.
Set to maintain 3,000, 93 Charlie Echo.
Why is
Central aircraft hazardous weather information, connected segment X-ray 1 for turbulence within Michigan and surrounding areas available on flight service frequencies.
Is Pontiac right there?
Heck yeah. Alright, 230, 4,000 or maintain 4,000. Let's go ahead and lean out our engine.
Sure, 93 Charlie Echo, we have Pontiac in sight.
For
93 Charlie Echo, roger, continue on the present heading for now for sequencing for behind the Cherokee.
Alright, present heading for now, 93 Charlie Echo.
Okay, looks about good. Let's go up to 70.
40 Romeo, contact Detroit approach 118.905.
18905 40 Romeo, thank you. Detroit approach, Sirius 4540 Romeo, level 4,230 heading.
Sirius 4540 Romeo, Detroit approach, dimensional number 3025.
3025 40 Romeo.
I'm a big fan of running lean of peak for my engine. It's better for engine health, saves fuel, and only costs about 5 knots of true airspeed. The Aviation system doesn't make it easy as a G1000 where it gives you recommended lean of peak or rich of peak mixture levels. And even then, it's really important to understand what to watch out for with EGTs, CHTs, and your fuel flow. There's no single great resource, and setups vary, such as having Yami injectors, but Mike Bush and Savvy Aviation have excellent material on concepts like the red box and basically staying out of the red box. If there's interest, I could make a video, as the videos out there I think just give general guidelines but don't really dig deep. This topic really helps you understand engine behavior and catch issues early. Simple habits like checking EGTs on the ground and doing in-flight mag checks at altitude can reveal problems with magnetos or fuel flow, such as via the Gami spread. On the way there, we encountered an interesting phenomenon. As we cross over some mountain ranges on our way south, we saw what looked like a layer of fog. I thought this might be upslope fog or mist, but as you'll see in the pictures, it was not. This was actually smoke from controlled burns, as it is currently a good season for controlled burns. Notably, there was no mountain obscuration air met. Anyway, this is something to look out for around this time of year, and it's a good idea to stay VFR and fly above it. We didn't smell any smoke in the cabin, and it only became clear what this was when we saw the views on the other side. Alright, hanging out with Brian. You know, I forgot to take a video of the landing, but over here they got the Elevation Chop House, so it's right on the field. We're gonna eat here, hang out for a couple of days while the caps repack is done, and then yeah, hopefully we'll get the takeoff. The King Air. Oh yeah. All right, I gotta get me a King Air.
Then you're gonna hire me to fly it.
Yes.
You're gonna hire me to fly it.
Yes. And I'm just gonna throw my license away. This is gonna end up on YouTube. All right, getting some good food here. All right, we just ate, got some coffee from the FBO, and checking to see if the plane moved. It didn't because it's Sunday. I don't know, just wanted to see my plane. Yeah, and also we're right in front of the FAA building, which is kind of funny because when we were waiting for the Uber, we were waiting over here, and this actually is a restricted area. I didn't realize that. We're just waiting for an Uber, and this guy comes out. He's a security guard, and he's like, what do you guys want? Just like we're waiting for an Uber. So anyway, lessons learned. Yeah, I'll see you guys. So another interesting thing is this road that is called Cirrus Way. So let's go. Heck yeah. That's really cool, man. So yeah, let me get the exact name actually. We're at the Aviation History and Technology Center.
Yeah.
Off
AHTC,
of near Romeo Yankee Airport.
Do you live here?
No, actually, I came in to drop my. I fly a Cirrus SR-22.
You fly what?
A Cirrus SR-22.
Oh, Cirrus.
Yeah. And I dropped it off with a parachute repack. And I was like, I want to see some aviation-related stuff around
here.
here.
The parachute. You press the parachute. And
Alrighty, we're about to go on board this thing.
I retired from the airlines 21 years ago, but if flight attendant comes back and says, "Gee, both pilots are incapacitated. Can you land this thing?" Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like riding a bicycle.
It's an GA airplane. So
Yeah.
that was quite. But he was talked through by Eddie.
Yeah.
Let me show you something.
Yeah.
See these rollers?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You flip all these rollers, panels around, and now you can. A lot of times the people just push this thing on board, but you have a winch to pull them.
Yeah. Interesting. So an awesome tidbit here is the guy talking is actually one of the pilots who flew this
Across
plane.
the ocean to go to Zaire.
And he told us we can
Congo,
touch stuff.
okay? And I don't think the navigator was very good, but we're going across the ocean for 3 or 4 hours, and eventually he said, "Okay, you can turn your radar down. It would pick out the land." Well, there was no land on the radar. Usually it returns if you point it down and kick back. So I used my ADF, and I started looking for any ADF station I could get on the coast. I got one that was fairly faint. The needle was going like this.
Yeah, so we can see the thrust reverser is on this. But there's no engine. It's kind of cool. Got an F-14. Man, I remember playing Ace Combat. I remember how these engines were spaced out. They're like far from each other. Pretty cool. It was my first time eating Zaxby's. It's pretty good. What's up, folks? Today we're at the Delta Airlines Museum, ATL, here with Brian. It's just on the ATL airport, which is pretty awesome. And we're gonna look at some sweet planes, more plane stuff today. Alright. So that's the first airplane ever by Delta. And there's this mail carrier. It's a huge tail dragger. That was a DC-3. I wonder what that's for. Got one of those mounted on top of my plane. Kind of cool. I'm like comfortably walking under this. So this is, I think, their simulator, but I looked online, looked like all their stuff was booked through March 31st, which is unfortunate, because this would have been cool. About to board the 767 for fun. Brian's trying to move the Skyper. That's definitely a white body. I refuse to believe this is how wide the aisles once were. Check this out, dude. Very cool. It's a lot of fuses. It's a better place to put a fuse than near my legs, like on the Cirrus. Jokes. Alright, so guess what that is? Think it's a kid's toy? Wrong. It's actually a flight simulator. It's called the Blue Box. It's the original flight sim. Alright, this is the 747. Part of the experience. Here. Emergency exit, huh? Safety briefing. That seems like a very trivial checklist for this plane, so I'm
That's
sure
simple. Just kidding.
it's all done. Getting some fuel, ready to go. Caps is all set. Beautiful weather today. We're actually leaving a day early. I'm gonna show you guys why. Hopefully, some weather planning. Hey folks, so I'd like to share with you how I do a part of my weather briefing. Obviously, you can go in and put in your flight plan that you anticipate. You know, like let's say we're going from KVLL to Traverse City. Okay, so there is this flight plan. I'm gonna say our departure time is now, and we don't really need to go up that high, but I'm gonna show you why it might be a good idea to stick to a lower altitude. You know, pick a lower IFR altitude here. Um, so if we send this to our flights, and I think we have everything in there. If we go to our flights, we're going to go to Uh, and there's some things you need to do to figure out if you need an alternate for a proper IFR flight plan. I'm going to skip that for now. I'm going to hit the briefing, okay? So the briefing here is going to show me uh, things that I think most people already do this. You're legally required to get a weather briefing, okay? So we're going to go through all the briefing. We're going to see that there's an IFR that is going to be active near our passing time, and that there are icing air meds. Okay, we're going to focus on icing here since we're around Michigan. Other parts of the country have different issues like thunderstorm, pop-up thunderstorms around Florida. You got terrain in the west. You got mountain obscuration around terrain, etc. Thunderstorms are really, they're going to become more of a thing, but when you fly around here in the winter, icing's a big thing. So I'd like to share with you how I figure more information out about icing. So this is the first step, okay? We can see icing, can see turbulence. Synopsis here, we can see a cold front sweeping through Michigan, okay? And we see that there's some airports that are reporting IFR, marginal VFR, and our destination is going to be marginal, okay? Let's keep that in mind. We see high reps, so we see that there's negative icing near Sheboygan there. We got some negative icing just north of the Pontiac area, negative icing there. And let's see, we got sky conditions, and then I'm looking for a positive icing thing here. Aha, so we have light clear icing 7,500 just west of Saginaw. Let's keep that in mind, okay? It says from 7,500 to 8,000. We got, I think maybe that's another aircraft that reported it. No, it's the same aircraft. Um, just slightly different way of reporting the altitude, I guess. Kind of odd, but okay, it's the same pirate basically. So, and then we got light rime south of Detroit. But let's take a look at this. Okay, what's to say now? Now, another tool I have in my tool belt that I love is windy. Okay, windy, and we have our Skew-T diagram. If you don't know how to read Skew-T diagrams, I highly recommend learning it because it will give you a lot of useful information. The line in red here is your temperature, okay? And we're going to focus around here, around 6,000 feet, which, as you'll note, is close to what that pilot reported, the pirate. When the Skew-T diagram shows you that the temperature and the humidity, which is the blue line, so the red line and the blue line meet, this is where you're going to have visible moisture. Another key point here is we have this sort of darker magenta line running across, I don't know why this is scrolling for me. I'd like it not to scroll, but there's a dark magenta line. This is a constant temperature line of 0 degrees. As you can see near the bottom, 0 degrees, and it just rises there. That's a constant temperature line. Anything left of that 0 degrees, you're going to be in freezing territory. Now, Up high, you can see a thick cloud layer, but the temperatures are very cold. Okay, so we're like negative 35 degrees here, and we're going up to negative 52. Anything less than negative 40 degrees is pretty much instantaneously going to turn into ice. Okay, you don't need this nucleation to happen. You need at lower temperatures for the ice to form, and that nucleus ends up being the surface of your aircraft or the airframe of your aircraft. Okay, so that's how you get airframe icing. So this is the danger zone. Okay, now when it comes to flying. If you do not have a FIKI aircraft, flight into known icing aircraft, you are not allowed to fly into known icing. The keyword here is known. And this is kind of, I don't want to say it's hazy, but there's two ways to figure out if there is icing from my experience. The first one is PIREPs, and there's clearly a PIREP here, so we can't fly here. Okay, this is flight into known icing. My aircraft is not FIKI certified. It does have a TKS system, but it's a G2 Cirrus, so it doesn't have FIKI. Now, even if you do have a FIKI aircraft, you don't want to sit in icing. Okay, you want to climb out of it or descend below it, and this is when knowing your minimum vectoring altitude, your MVA for a certain region, is also important because that's the lowest that a controller can send you down to on an IFR flight plan. Otherwise, they're going to have to switch you to VFR. You can get into some serious trouble if if the ceilings are low, for example, around your destination, below the MVA, and you're in an icing situation. That can turn real ugly. Okay, so here we see that, okay, well, our clouds are about 4,300 feet, and this is well clear of, it would be VFR essentially if we descend below that, and the controller can send us down to about 3,000 feet, and the minimum vectoring altitude is probably going to be a little bit lower. Okay, so we want to fly below this. We don't want to fly through it, so we're not flying into known icing. Now, there are some situations where it looks like it would have icing, but you would find remarks, PIREPs around the area that icing is actually negative. So this is a forecast, and it's not going to be 100% accurate. Now, if as a wise pilot, you want to plan your flight such that you are not going to be flying into icing or icing or conditions that could develop icing, but sometimes it just happens. Okay, and you figure out that as you're flying, oh man, I'm in an icing situation. What do I do? You're gonna have two options. You know, or multiple tools at your disposal, not just two. Okay, so obviously your pitot heat has to be on. Secondly, if you have TKS, activate your TKS system. Make sure it's primed beforehand such that the sponges and the wings are already wet before you even run into this. So if you ever have to use it, it's already ready to go and the wings are already wet. Okay. The third thing is ATC. Okay. Maybe that's the first thing, but ATC is going to help you if you let them know, hey, we're picking up some trace icing. I'd like to climb, for example. I would recommend climbing above it if you're still far away from your destination, because below it, you might be getting things like snow, etc. And depending on the moisture in the snow, if it's dry snow, you're probably fine. But if it's wet snow, you're going to get icing on your airframe. So you would want to climb above it if you can. And remember that landing is always an option. So if you find yourself in a pickle and you're like, okay, well, I'm accumulating ice at a rate that is definitely not sustainable. I need to get out of it. So you're going to try to land, and if you're outside your comfort zone, it might be time to declare an emergency. So this is bottom line here is the Skew-T chart is a very useful forecast tool. A lot of people think that it's only based on the weather balloons that are sent up twice a day, but that's actually not true. Those are available, but also there is a system that uses a forecast model where it can give you much more points along the day in terms of the forecast of what it's going to be like in that area. So all that said is in our descent into Detroit, we did encounter some icing that I did not know about beforehand. So it wasn't flight into known icing, but it was a situation where, you need to get out of it and either climb or descend. And the first time we encountered that, we were just skimming the clouds on the way back, and we picked up very light trace. I just started to see it develop, and I immediately talked to ATC to get out of it. And then the second time was when we were actually getting into Detroit and penetrating through the thin layer that was there. We also picked up icing on the way down. It was a non-issue. In fact, by the time we landed, there was no icing on the aircraft at all. So it's one of those things that you really got to be cognizant of. If you pick up trace icing, you were not aware of it, you find yourself in that situation, you should immediately take care of that. Okay, so that's all I had for you guys in terms of helping you plan for this stuff. We left a day early because uh, conditions were much more favorable. If we were to leave a day late, there would have been a much thicker layer of clouds here, and we would have definitely a much higher probability of encountering icing that would have been much more challenging to deal with. And I don't like dealing with challenging things when I'm flying. If I have to, I will, but I'd rather minimize the chance of that, I should say. Alrighty, I know this video is already too long, probably. I'm not sure if YouTube's gonna even let me upload it, but I think this is a good point too. If you're flying around the Atlanta area, we landed at Romeo Yankee Yankee, and then when we were gonna depart, we followed an IFR flight plan, which when we got it back in ForeFlight, it was amended with a new route. And then in the route, they put in this NOONE fix. Now, this actually isn't a fix, and I learned that from the tower controller. You'll hear it from him in just a bit. This is actually just a point in space that the departure controller routes you through on your way out. It's not something that they read back in the clearance. So the first thing they read back in the clearance is actually Nello. And that's where the controller will tell you to fly direct after you get your radar vectors from departure, and then you're routed on your way outside the Atlanta airspace. This was very new to me, and it was actually confusing because it was in my flight plan when I got it back, as you can see here, but then the controller, the clearance delivery at the airport didn't read it back. So I actually asked them. I was like, "Hey, did you miss one there? It's actually called the North One point there." And you'll hear it from the more older, I think more senior tower controller explain it, and he was awesome for doing that. He didn't really have to, but he took the time and explained it to us. So if you're on the Atlanta airspace, just expect this. There's, the North One, I guess there's the East One, there's the North Two, etc. So, yeah, you're gonna hear that in the video.
November 4240 Romeo, my previous controller said you had some questions about that NOR 1. It's not really a fix. If you'd like for me to explain it to you, I can.
That would be great, actually, and this is for 454 Sierra Romeo.
454 Sierra Romeo, that first fix you see on your flight plan, that North 1, that is a place in space that Atlanta sends you to out of the Bravo airspace. If you notice that we have a North 1, North 2, an East 1, South 1, South 2, West, and so forth. Those are points that the approach controller will send you to for the center controller. This allows your flight strip to be handed off to the proper sector and the next step after the approach control. So your first fix that you're looking at, you're going to be vectored to Nello.
Roger that. Awesome. This is a great explanation. Thank you very much. We're also holding short of 27 and ready for departure.
Cheers. 4540 Romeo, hold short, runway 27, then change over to the tower frequency for me.
Roger that. Holding short, changing to tower 40 Romeo. Macon Tower 40 Romeo, with you here.
Roger.
15. Good. Autopilot disconnect. All good.
That was a very good explanation. Okay.
So that stands for North 1.
Yeah.
So if it's North 2, it's NO2. And
Series
there's
40 Romeo on departure, turn right, heading of 360. Runway 27, clear for takeoff.
On departure, turn right heading 360, runway 27 cleared for takeoff, 4540 Romeo.
I learned something new today. Okay, final check. Mixture trim. We're cleared. Final left is clear. Final right is clear. Our cap's emergency altitude is 1600.
Alright, everything's good.
Yep. Okay, runway 27. Here we go. Airspeed's alive.
Gauges look good.
Engine instruments in the green. Power is set.
Get some crossing corrections in.
Oh.
A little bit of right crossing here. Nice crowd.
Good for 1200. Okay. 360 heading and climb up to 3000.
Series 40 Romeo, contact at Atlanta departure. Have a good flight.
Over to departure 40 Romeo, thank you.
The views along the way were beautiful. One thing to note about flying over terrain, I mean, we're always at least 2,000 feet or so above. You'll feel some turbulence, and that's from the mountain waves, so just something to expect. Alright, so here's where my earlier spiel applies, right? We were skimming the clouds at the top, no issues whatsoever. And they were below us for most of the flight this far. Actually, for the entire flight this far. But then the clouds started to get a little bit higher, and most of the icing happens at the top part of the cloud. So I'm keeping a close lookout there. We're assigned an altitude with ATC, and I start to notice a very little bit of trace icing start to form, so I decide to call up ATC and ask for a slightly higher altitude. We can already see that we can be above it for 1,000 feet above. So we were at, I believe we were at 7,000, and then I asked for 8,000 or 9,000, and they gave us 8,000, so we climbed above, and no issues there. I already had the TKS system primed, just in case, because I know it's cold out, and pitot static was already on. We got the windshield defroster on, so everything is well under control. One other thing to note is when you request this altitude change, the controller has to coordinate to get you that altitude back, so it's not like an immediate clearance that they just let you change altitude, but you usually get it after they coordinate. So it takes maybe a few seconds to maybe a minute or so, and now I just got it back. So we're climbing up to 8,000. One other detail to note here is that you get this climb, and you have a certain optimal fuel flow given a pressure altitude for your engine. And in the Cirrus, it's on a placard to the right of the MFD. It's just printed right there on the dashboard. And, you know, that's for maximum power. So around, I think, 6,000 or 8,000, it's maybe around 24 gallons per hour. So I'm trying to avoid fully cramming my mixture forward. Obviously, you want to push it a bit forward before you go full power so you don't run the engine hot with little fuel going in. And yeah, just it takes a little bit of experience to know where that setting is in the mixture so that when you go to maximum power, you're in around the ideal region for your fuel flow for maximum performance. If it's too rich, the engine won't perform as well. It'll actually have reduced performance, and if you're too lean, you're going to be running it too hot. So just something to be cognizant of. Over here is actually right after we descended through that layer, and we did pick up a little bit of icing. And again, ATC originally told me to descend and maintain 7,000. We descended, but we asked for lower because we were right in that layer. I was like, that's not going to be ideal. So I immediately let ATC know, and they gave us a lower altitude, no problem. And the other thing to note here is our current heading is actually taking us straight over the lake, east of Detroit. I don't want to fly over the lake around this time of year. The water is still very cold, and I don't have my life jacket or my life raft on the aircraft, so I'm going to ask for vectors to hug that shoreline. ATC is always really helpful, nice to work with, so yeah. After a little while, it was pretty clear VFR. You can see a little bit of maybe there's scattered clouds, maybe it's very light snow that doesn't even reach the surface there in the distance. But it was very pleasant from here on out. It's a good time to make sure all your systems are still working correctly. I keep my probe heat on. TKS is completely off at this point. There's no icing. And always good to peek at your vertical stabilizer if you can. Just turn around, you can see through the rear window. Now another risk factor here is that it was getting close to nighttime, and I wanted to make sure that we got to our destination before nighttime, because seeing icing at night is very challenging. And I actually have a special flashlight that I use to be able to peek out of my wings if I ever find myself in that situation. It's a high power flashlight. I can just shine it through the window. The newer Cirrus have a wing light, which is very fancy, but I find that a regular flashlight works just fine if I need to really take a look outside. Optimally, I shouldn't even be in that situation. That's just two risk factors. That's not great to combine icing and nighttime flying. Obviously, if I had a more capable aircraft, things might be a bit different, but there's always a little risk, and how much the risk is depends on the capability of your aircraft. I think a lot of times pilots confuse their own capability and understanding with the capability of the aircraft they're currently in. Those are two very distinct things. You can be an amazing pilot, might end up making you think that the aircraft that you're flying is more capable than it actually is. So, just something to keep in mind. And here we come in for our landing back in Oakland, Troy, and this is my home airport. I can actually spot it from a distance, just from the beacon. You can see the runway lights are actually still off. So I go ahead and switch them on with the pilot-controlled lighting over the radio. And we come in for our turning final here, so that we can make our landing. If you made it this far, thank you guys so much for watching the video. I hope there were some useful tidbits as a pilot, and maybe you enjoyed some of the adventure stuff we did. Really did not expect to find 2 aviation museums, which was awesome for 2 aviation nerds here. If you guys have any questions about the video or just want to chat, please drop a comment, like and subscribe. I don't think the channel's ever going to get that big because it's just basically my aviation diary, but it might be nice to see that there's folks that are interested. So I hope to see you guys in the next one.